positive assessment of recovery in the travel industry and best performance is here in Asia, but it's domestic travel that's driving the change. The upbeat comments come from the CEO of online travel agency Agoda during a media interview. John Brown says Taiwan, Thailand, and increasingly Vietnam are the countries where domestic travel has come around. The global travel industry has been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. Data from the World Tourism Organization shows a 70% fall in international arrivals for the first 8 months of 2020. And some markets have now reopened, but demand remains weak. An analyst joins us live from Kuala Lumpur. Gary Bowerman is a director with Check-in Asia. Thanks for joining us, Gary. Well, those are some interesting insights from Agoda. Are you also seeing a revival in domestic tourism?
Yeah, hi, good evening. I think there is some sort of revival in domestic tourism, but it's very patchy, and of course it's enforced. People in many countries of our region can't travel overseas at the moment, so we're kind of getting a bit of a distorted picture. People are traveling where they can, and I think that the markets that were picked out there, Thailand, Vietnam, and Taiwan would be good cases there. Indonesia perhaps as well. But a lot of the travel you're seeing domestically is at weekends, it's celebrations, and it's at public holidays. And we're really missing the international travelers who fill in the gaps during the weeks and during the months. You know, airlines and hotels have huge inventories to fill throughout a week, and domestic tourism can't really fill that void. But that said, for economies that have really been hit very, very hard by the pandemic, and as you mentioned there, Asia Pacific may be on the up in terms of other regions, but it was also the hardest hit of any global tourism region. So the recovery is long, the recovery is difficult. But domestic tourism will certainly play its part, certainly into next year for sure.
And which markets are you expecting that will benefit from this?
I think throughout our region, you would definitely look at the bigger population markets, those that are bigger size countries geographically with the larger populations and more destinations. So as mentioned there, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, although it is obviously struggling very hard at the moment to contain the virus, Taiwan. I think you'd also be looking at Australia and New Zealand. There's been some positive news out of Australia this week with flights reconnecting between Sydney and Melbourne. And Melbourne, after that horrific lockdown that it had there, has managed to go onto a streak of keeping COVID infections down. But we're really playing it day by day at the moment. This volatile nature of this virus, until we are safe with a vaccine, until we can actually ensure that people can travel safely again, we're still playing a game of catch-up, and it's a huge game to play.
Gary, do you think this cautious momentum, would it be enough to spark a recovery in international tourism?
Yeah, well, that's the question the whole industry is trying to find an answer to. And this week, IATA, the International Air Travel Association, has been really pushing its new app for testing at airports before people fly, because one of the big issues is quarantines. Where borders aren't closed, there are quarantine requirements which prevent people from travel. As you've been discussing, the Hong Kong-Singapore air travel bubble was predicated on the notion of not having quarantines. It was having testing at both ends to try and make sure that people are safe and the public in both destinations are kept safe as well. So I think we're going to see these dynamic waves of booking and browsing and searching and cancellations and deferments that Agoda was talking about, simply because of the nature of the virus. And also, if we're looking into Northeast Asia at the moment, as you mentioned just before the break there, you look at Shanghai today, we're moving into the winter season there. And obviously the winter season is where the virus actually first emanated in Wuhan in China almost a year ago. So you're looking at countries like China, Japan, South Korea, Hong Kong entering into the winter season. I think we are going to see sort of peaks and troughs of the virus through those months.